In a quiet coastal town of Japan lived an old lantern maker named Haruto. He had a tiny workshop where he crafted paper lanterns with delicate care. One day his neighbors said, "Hey, old man Haruto, why don't you sell your lanterns at the upcoming Star Festival? People come from far and wide. You could make a fortune." Haruto just smiled and kept working. Another neighbor said, "But you worked so hard on those lanterns. It doesn't seem right to just give them away." Haruto stopped, looked at his lanterns, and said, "Friends, light is meant to be shared." Then he returned to his work, carefully crafting each piece. On the night of the Star Festival, the town square was bustling with people. Many of Haruto's friends and neighbors had set up stalls, each trying to sell more than the last. But Haruto sat alone by the shore, watching the waves. When he saw a young girl approach, he handed her one of his lanterns and said, "Here, take this. Let it be your star to guide you." The girl beamed and ran off to join the festival. As the night deepened, Haruto gave out all his lanterns to anyone who asked. Some children used them to play games, some couples hung them from trees, and some hung them in their doorways and windows. Then he went home, feeling content. The next morning, a violent storm struck the town. Waves crashed against the shore, winds tore at rooftops, and rain poured endlessly. Electricity failed, and darkness swallowed the entire town. People hurried home, afraid of being caught in the storm. They struggled to see even a step ahead. But then, from house to house, tiny warm glows began to appear. Haruto's lanterns, hanging in doorways and windows, lit up like guiding stars. All that night, families huddled together, clutching their lanterns, the only light in the overwhelming darkness. People hung out from their windows, calling out to neighbors to bring them more lanterns to light their way. Haruto awoke to the sound of rushing water. He peered out his window and gasped. People were out in the storm, but they seemed to be glowing from within. That's when he realized what his lanterns had become. They were no longer just lanterns. They were hope. They were guiding the townspeople through their darkest night. As dawn approached, the storm began to ease. The wind, which had been howling like a hungry wolf, softened to a gentle breeze. The rain, which had been pounding on rooftops, slowed to a comforting patter. And as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the clouds, the storm clouds parted, revealing a sky filled with stars. The townspeople, refreshed and rejuvenated, emerged from their homes to behold a breathtaking sight. The sky was ablaze with colors, the clouds were painted in hues of gold and crimson, and the gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of wet earth and blooming flowers. They had weathered the storm and emerged even stronger than before. Then they all went to Haruto's workshop. There they bowed deeply and said, "Old man Haruto, we now understand. Your lanterns weren't just paper and light. They were hope itself. We're so sorry we didn't understand before." Haruto just smiled and said, "Friends, a lantern's purpose isn't to stay in the shop. Its true value is seen when it lights the dark." From that day on, the townspeople never doubted the value of Haruto's lanterns. They understood that sometimes the simplest things can bring the brightest light into our lives. And they also learned that the greatest joy comes not from what we keep, but from what we give. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can be the biggest help someone needs. A word of encouragement, a helping hand, a listening ear. These are the lanterns that light up the darkest of nights. So be someone's lantern. Who knows? Your light may be the only thing that helps someone through their storm.